Hi everyone, Sheena here. Today we are talking about creating your own reality. And I think I've talked quite a bit about this before, but I was on my way to the office today thinking about how we truly do have access and opportunity to creating our reality and really breaking that down into what it looks like. Because I think at large, manifestation or creating a reality can sound a little bit new age, progressive, woo-woo, however you want to look at it. But in the grand scheme of things, people have been creating the reality forever. And I think when we look up to successful people, when we look up to performers or actors or writers or business owners or visionaries, or even people who have families that are very successful at it that made the choice to do it, or people that have, just chosen their path, chosen their walk in life, that they've been creating their reality all along. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So stick around and check it out. Hi guys, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and I am here talking about creating a reality and really breaking that down for us today. So creating a reality down, I think the thing that really changed for me when I was doing that and really learning how to transfer that to my life, and don't get me wrong, I'm always learning. That doesn't mean I've got anything down pat or I'm a master by any means yet. But it's really about, I think, daily practices, day in and day out, making choices about it, right? Believe it or not, a 24-hour period, we can forget a lot inside of a 24-hour period. So, it's one thing to create goals, for the week or for the month or for a year or for 5 years down the line. But what are you doing every day to implement those routines that support those goals? And that's ultimately what it's about. How often are you going back to the goals that you're setting for yourself? How often are you going back to the choices that you want, or to the life that you said that you wanted, in front of you? So, all those practices, they really help implement, support, and help you follow through with the sorts of life and creative endeavors and career paths and choices and ideas that you have for yourself. Dreams, right? Dreams. I talk a lot about dreams. And I was reading an old writing of mine yesterday, and in the writing it said that dreams aren't these things that you create as a child and hope for as you grow up and then eventually let disappear. Dreams are goals and ideas that you have for yourself that are totally feasible and doable, right? I don't know if you've heard of people in your life, or maybe you've seen a movie, because I think a lot of times the hero's journey talks a lot about it, where, people do set out and have dreams when they're young, and then later in life they don't meet those goals or dreams, and they're down on themselves about it, or they feel like they missed their opportunity. And I don't think that's really a thing. I think we can make it something big, but it doesn't have to be anything at all, and it really isn't. And we can always set new goals and ideas and dreams for ourselves, and they don't have to be these big, huge plans that seem impossible. They could be very little, tiny, subtle things that shift our life in grand ways. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about creating our reality. So what does it look like day in and day out? So today, for instance, for me, because I was thinking about it today as I was coming here, I think about it. I premeditate my life. And in not all my life, it doesn't have to sound like this crazy, perfect, thing that I have to do every day, because that sounds kind of dramatic and could get mundane and not that fun. But there's spontaneity involved, and sometimes I miss the mark. So, I set a goal or a plan or idea for that day and I don't follow through, and that's fine. I think that happens all the time, actually. So it doesn't mean that if you're creating your day, that you have to, you have to do it, that's not what it's for. But if you carry out with your plans, then you can say the next day when you look back upon it, oh, I did what I said I was going to do. I created that. So now that you have the momentum going in your life, now you could say, there it is. There it shows up in my life. So that is how you create your world. And I think it was many moons ago, probably 6-7 years ago. I remember hearing, how do you wake up in the morning? What do you do to think about the day that you have planned for you? Do you let the day just happen to you, or do you make choices about your day? And as I started to integrate that practice, I worked in, and I still do work in restaurants, and there were so many times in my life where I went to work, I had a rough day, right? It was like I got pinball machined around inside of this environment, and I come home and I'm wrecked and I'm exhausted and I'm drained. And it wasn't until I started to begin the practice of saying, okay, today I'm going to have a good day. Today I'm going to make people smile. Today I'm going to find what I'm grateful for, no matter how wild the restaurant service gets that today. Today I'm going to make myself feel good. I'm going to make another feel good. And I really worked with the things I had control over. And over time, I'd come home and I'd be just as grateful as when I left that day. So that to me is creating your day. That's making choices about the emotions you're going to feel throughout the day. You're probably going to be reactive sometimes, or you're going to behave in ways you didn't expect, or things are going to happen to you that you don't expect or you don't know, right? You're not necessarily telling the future here. However, with time, you get better at the way you respond to the situation. So even though you don't know what situations will come up, you can guess, for instance, in the restaurant industry, that there's going to be a moment of frustration or chaos, or there's going to be a moment where you run out of something that you need, or there's going to be a moment where another employee comes to you and is upset or has anxiety. And you can manage the way you respond to those. And those are choices that you make beforehand, that you premeditate about, that you really make a choice about. And that is how you create your day. Does that make sense? And that is eventually how you create your entire life, right? So really working on your emotional responses, really working on the things you want to feel. What do I want to feel today? I want to feel gratitude. I want to feel joy. I want to feel excitement. I feel like anger and sadness come up because we're triggered in different ways. But if you tell yourself the majority of the day, I want to feel joyful, even if you get a moment of sadness or anger, you're going to be already working, because the mind is already working towards it, because you set out a plan for yourself, right? And then the next step, is this gets a little bit more intense. And, I tell my clients, you could do the work, you can read a quote, you can think you understand something, but it's not until you really walk the walk that it really integrates into your life. And so the next step might be not just to think about how you want to feel, but to write it down, to write down your goals for that day, to write down your goals for the week, to begin to develop a practice of writing things down. And not just write them down, right? Then go back and look at them, right? Reflect upon them, right? Reflect upon what's going on. Reflect on if you're meeting those goals. Reflect on if you're meeting those emotions that you want to be feeling. Reflect on if you're feeling joyful or gracious. And it'll give you a good insight on if you are. Okay, well, maybe there's some spaces I need to work on this, right? And there's more of your creating your reality. There's more of creating what you want. And these are these subtle sort of emotional cues, is really the important stuff. We can write a to-do list and complete a to-do list, and so many people do that kind of naturally. But how often are you writing on your to-do list to make another person smile, to remember to smile yourself, to remember to be grateful for the things that you have in front of you, right? To let go and surrender of the things that you don't have control of, right? How long are you doing those things, or how often you're writing down those things on that to-do list? I suggest that those be the top things you write down, and the other stuff, you add to it. But I believe that stuff, it helps, and it does. And that works in creating the grander scheme of the material reality that you're in. But in terms of the things that you're not going to be able to predict, those emotional drives and cues and choices will really help you create a life that's valuable and feels good. And that's what creating your reality is. And that's what manifesting is. So much of that work, it does happen over time. And I think at first we see the little cues and we're surprised. We're like, oh, wait, I handled that really well. I did something, and then those cues, they feed back into our system as a reward, so that reward based, kind of getting what we want, and that reward involved in feeling good, and that reward involved in seeing ourselves live the life that we said we wanted to live is very magical, and it's so supportive, and it's so powerful, and that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about creating our realities. That's what I'm talking about, those little subtle things that make such a difference, and they work in these very special places that really allow for us to have a flourishing and joyful life. So think about that today. I'll just leave it at that. It's not a big conceptual idea. We went really just more for the inner micro sort of thing, but it eventually it flutters, it moves, it grows the outer into that more macro level experience. So just stick with that one today, and it's always great talking to you. I love sharing. Remember to subscribe. Remember to like my content here, and to run on over to my website, because everything I'm doing in my office now, I'm doing remotely. So I would love to work with you. I'd love to work with you on how to create your own reality and to really work in those subtle spaces. Sometimes we hit these walls and we're struggling with challenges that seem to come up in a cyclical nature. Like, oh, I've heard this before. I've experienced this before, and I thought I worked through this. And it's those times where there's just something that needs to be shifted, and it helps to have the support of another person. And that is what I do. I really work in that space as a supportive person. Please reach out when you're feeling it. Sometimes when you're in the muck, you think, I don't want to show anybody this. I don't want to burden other people with this. Come on down. Come on down and talk to me. Those are the perfect times. That's a perfect place to start working and walking the walk and integrating the stuff, because sometimes it takes a while for that cycle to reappear. So if you are feeling it, if you're feeling the challenges, please reach out. Feel good about that. That's a big deal. And it's always wonderful talking to you. Thank you for watching the content. Check out some of my other videos, and have a beautiful day.